What's good, everybody? DJ TMac back here for another great hip-hop conversation. And boy, is this going to be a good one. We have a DJ, independent record label owner, purveyor of some of the finest underground hip-hop that's coming out today. Father and all-around great guy, Thick Cr8s is in the building.
Peace, T-Mac.
What's good, bro?
Man? Thank you so much for having me, man.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to have you on today. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
We've had a few conversations in the past, and here we are. We're putting it on wax, if you will.
Yes, sir. Immortalized.
Yeah.
I've been looking forward to this one.
Yeah.
Definitely, man.
It's been a couple years now that we've been connected. First connected on IG. Right around that time is when you brought Large Professor out here.
That's
to
correct.
do a
The first
set, I
time,
believe,
yeah.
in 2023.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was at that. It was freaking amazing, like a mind-blowing experience.
Oh, man.
Somebody who I've just seen on YouTube, on Rhythm Roulette, and produce all these amazing records. Since he started, to see him live in person, spinning, doing it. I believe it was all 45s he was spinning to, or mostly.
Yeah.
It was an amazing experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Those we brought him up twice, and so those shows I feel like are probably some of the most important hip hop shows that I've seen in the Denver area in the last like 5-10 years. It's seldom that you'll see a legend of that caliber out here in a gig where it's that personal, and you can literally like reach out and shake his hand from the stage. Like it was special. The performances he gave, incredible. To see him, I mean, that's really like the true essence of it. You see a producer DJing. Most producers, good producers, they start as DJs. And I mean, you got to see the total package with those shows. You got to see him DJ. You got to see him rhyme, over the actual instrumentals, his real beats, and he was really rhyming, no lip syncing. Oh man, it's crazy. Yeah, those were classics. Those were definitely classics.
Yeah, I missed the first one. I think I saw the poster after it happened. I was like, "What the heck?
Yeah.
How did I miss this? Or how is he even out here?" Like that was when I first moved out here. So, I was trying to look for the hip hop and become familiar with where the spots are and stuff like that.
Right,
so
right.
I made sure we weren't going to miss the second one.
Yeah. You know what? That first one was real special too. I remember pulling out like all of the old main source records, the old Large Pro records. We had crates of like dead stock main source records, main like old joints, not the standard ones that you see like the post 2000s joints, but like actual 90s joints, dead stock of it coming out of the collection for people to dig through. Man, I think we had like an exclusive T-shirt from Classic Material. Shout out Carlos, Classic Material, New York City. Yeah, that was a really special one also. Man, Large Professor, that's my brother, and somebody who we look at as one of our heroes in this hip hop shit. Absolutely. And also shout out to my brother Raw Wattage, who was there for the for both shows, and shout out to Al Scratch, who was there for the first show. All family. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. We're going to talk about Large Pro a little bit later in the interview, but let's take it back to the beginning, man.
All right.
You grew up in the D.C. area?
Yeah, born in Washington, D.C. Man, I've been all around. My life took me to many places. Parents had kind of like a difficult divorce, so I wound up having to go live with my pops. And with him, I kind of moved around a little bit from DC, went to LA, spent some time in LA, also spent some time in New Mexico. And I've been in Denver since like 2005, but the start is absolutely DC, DMV. Yep.
What are some early music memories that may have set you on the path that led you to where you are today?
In a place like DC, music is all around you. Even from a young age, but first piece of vinyl, Christmas, I think of like '86, was Michael Jackson's Thriller, and yeah, that was a Christmas gift for my pops. You know, I remember growing up hearing my pops' music in the house. My mom's side big into jazz. My grandmother, my mom, and my aunt big into jazz. So music was always around, even if it wasn't something that I was necessarily conscious of. But yeah, it was always there. But yeah, the first piece of vinyl, definitely Michael Jackson's Thriller, and I still remember like the way that the album cover was. It was glossy, and like he's got this kind of like glow about him in the image. Man, like, oh, that was serious. Like I really I still remember that vividly, even the way the record smelled. That may have been one of the first things that really kind of like got me keen and like aware of like records, like actual vinyl. Yep.
Let's talk about record collecting a little bit. So, you know, as I'm going and preparing for this interview, I'm like, when did I start actually collecting vinyl? And what was my first few records? So I started collecting back in 2014. My parents, you know, they were never like big music people, but similar to you, it was sort of always on in the background. It was more just mainstream, what was happening at the time. But it was always sort of on in the background. But I got like a briefcase record player back in 2014, and I ordered three records offline.
Okay.
I'd never been to a record store, I don't think, at that point. When I was a little kid, maybe I was walking around in a music store. But there was not really any record stores where I was at the time.
Okay.
So what I ordered online is the Fugees, The Score, a 3-pack of A Tribe Called Quest, their first three albums,
first three. Yeah, those are the best three.
and then Black Star.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I ordered these without actually knowing too much about these albums or artists. It was really just hearing these names constantly in interviews with, you know, whoever I was watching. Logic was somebody at the time that mentioned a lot of these early people that inspired him. So I was like, all right, let me go back and dig a little bit. So those were the first 3 records I got, like I said, without really knowing them. And, you know, that just set me off from there. Now I have hundreds of records at my house. It's a really fun thing to do, and you seem to be a collector yourself. So what are like some of your most prized vinyls or good memories you have with collecting?
Man, yo, I've been doing that shit since like '95, bro. Like buying records, you know what I'm saying, for real, like with focused intent of like, yo, this, you know, I know what the fuck I'm going for. Man, so many stories. Damn. Let's see. I could tell you. I'll give you a good Colorado story. So I remember when I first moved up here in like 2005, maybe 2006, somewhere around there, and I had a friend who had linked me with somebody who's like an older collector out here, and I had acquired a collection, maybe of about like 500 records, and the older collector was like, "Yo, I'm down to trade you some of the stuff I have for the stuff for those boxes that you have," and yo, he brought the boxes, and it was like, yo, it was the craziest shit. There was original pressing of Godfather Don Hazardous in there. There was original like Mobb Deep, the infamous double LP, like all of them really clean, to a whole bunch of like just pristine hip hop shit, and not recent stuff. I think this was probably around 2006, maybe 2007 that we had done this exchange. And I remember just being blown away at the stuff that was in his stash, and I was like, yo, you know, if you ever want to do this again, I get more collections, you know, I'm happy to trade out some stuff. And it took probably like about 10 years, maybe 11 years for him to hit me again. And at this point, he was like, yo, my house is so full of records right now. I just need to get rid of some stuff. So he had me over to the crib, and him and like 3 or 4 of his friends were just working on boxing records all day long. All day long, they were boxing records to get him stored, just moving them to a storage unit. But he was like, "Yo, go ahead and take a crack at whatever you want. Go through the entire house." And I'm talking like the whole house is just filled with records. Like the first level, I walk in, the living room is jam packed, and I mean it's not even like tidy where they're in boxes on the floor. Like they're just stacked. You know what I'm saying? Just mad records, mad records. And I mean, he's got stuff on the wall, like all the walls are lined. I go into the other like areas of the house. There's records in all of those rooms, and then I go into the basement, and the basement is just like filled. And I mean, yo, it looks like there was probably like mice living in there, and just crazy unsanitary piles. But yo, you know what? You just throw on a dust mask, throw on some gloves, and get busy. And let me see. I found a promo copy of Eugene McDaniel's Headless Heroes of the Apocalypse. Yo, there was so many good joints in there. It was really heavy on the funk, and a pretty good stash of like record pool hip hop 12 inches 90s era. A lot of like disco and funk 12 inches from like probably like 70 ranging up to about like 83, all like record pool stuff though, like real clean promo copies of everything. Man, I cleaned house in that one. But Denver has been really good to me on the records, and all of the places that I've been, Washington D.C., New York City, those are some of my favorite places to dig. Cali got joints for sure. Oh man, I know some people out there killing it in Cali right now. Philly got joints.
There's record store. I mean, obviously there's a lot of places you've been, but is there one that maybe stands out?
Wow, that's tricky. Oh man, I will say one of my favorites. It's long since closed. 12-inch Dance Records in Washington D.C. That was a really dope store. Also one that I was coming up, buying records in. This is like 95, 96, 97. So that was a special spot. Man, there's so many places though. Over the years, it just kind of becomes like it blurs. You do so much digging, so many places, man. Definitely Human Head in New York City, A1 Records. There's so many places. Som Records in Washington D.C. Som Records is crazy. Yo, that spot is really ill. I could go on for days. I mean, I was here, when Denver had an independent records. That was fire. I remember finding like a promo copy of Akinelli's Vagina Dinah, produced entirely by Large Professor. It was like $2.99 at the time. I think the record was like $100 online. I found so many good joints all over. But yeah, I especially like DC DMV area. That's one of my favorite places to dig. New York is incredible as well. Yeah.
Nice, man. Well, the last few vinyls that I got were all from you, so thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Yep. We got the newest Jazzsoon here, Heavy Archives. This is a banger. Quite a series.
Oh man, yeah, it's low key like legendary. I think pretty soon it's not gonna be low key anymore, Yeah. But that's a very special series. He was 10 deep in the series, and basically 11 was like a perfect time to start up a new chapter in it. And he approached me with the project and was like, yo, what do you think about doing some vinyl for this? Because the Heavy Archive series was all cassette. There was one 7-inch vinyl press for Heavy Archives Volume 1, but the remaining 10 were all cassette. So if you know anything about those albums, if you listen to any of the projects, they're really dope beat albums. And kind of that real ill traditional boom bap shit, but not dated shit. You know what I'm saying? Like still fresh.
Really fresh, really funky.
Right.
The flow of them, the
yeah.
sequencing, how they blend together, all like really fun stuff. I've been having that stuff on repeat for a while.
Absolutely. And so knowing that history, It was really important to do Heavy Archives 11 justice. So, you know, we gave it the deluxe treatment. You know, Jazzsoon is a dude that's very traditionalist, not really a fan of color vinyl, but we got a nice, like, we got an Obi and a color vinyl for this, as well as black vinyl. Cassette, you know, the exclusive sticker packs. We definitely we went all out for this one. Yeah, for sure. And I'm extremely pleased with the results. People have been giving us great feedback on it. These Obies are like completely gone. Mine went in the first day. The black vinyl real low right now. Cassettes I have less than 5 left. So I mean that's a huge success for us. And you know, we're doing all of this directly too. No website. We're not in stores. You have to know of us. You have to be tapped in to get it.
Exactly.
And that's special because in 10 years, you know, you're gonna have a lot of people that are like, oh yeah, I'm hip hop. I got hip hop records. Words, you got any Jazzsoon shit? And you're like, no. You know, because they weren't really tapped in. I mean, you have to know it's only for me or Jazzsoon. So if you're not aware of it, if we're not on your radar, you're gonna miss them. You know. So and that's special, honestly. These records, you know, there's I think a special group of people that are particularly tapped in to that sound and that style, and I'm happy that these records are in their collections. You know, these are people that'll really appreciate them.
There's a certain experience that a listener has with music nowadays, right? Since a lot of it is all digital. And what it seems like you're doing with your label is really trying to create a different experience for the listeners and lovers of this style of music.
Absolutely. You know, the exclusivity of it is kind of it's special. You know, DJs back in the day, before Serato, before everything was digital, one of the things that really defined how dope a DJ was their collection. You know, the records that they played, the records that they avoided playing. You know, that makes a huge difference, I think, in the personality and the overall experience that a DJ is conveying to the crowd or is providing the crowd with. So, you know, having rarer records, stuff that's off of the beaten path, has always been special in hip hop. And these records that we're doing, they're absolutely something that you have to be a little bit more tapped in to find them. But if you do, it's almost like an oasis of dope hip hop that, you know, is absolutely live, vibrant, and is thriving. But it just may not be something that everybody is completely aware of yet. But we're trying to we're with each release, the fan base grows, and what we want to do is make sure that those fans feel like, yo, we're a part of something special. You know, especially the ones that were here from the beginning, because they've watched it grow. You know, and I feel like every project in the catalog is dope, but they keep getting better and better. So yeah, that's absolutely something that I want the customers to have, and I feel like that's valuable. You know, there are certain movements that I saw happen in hip hop, and I'm still proud to own those records to this day. And I absolutely want to fall in line with some of the people that came before us, some of the labels that came before us, and really put it down. Truly. Yep.
Speaking to like this underground, you know, scene that's always happening, always bubbling there, a lot of high level stuff, but not always, you know, a lot of notoriety or eyes on it.
Right.
It was probably during COVID that I really started to tap in more to this. Obviously Griselda was blowing up at that time. So that was sort of the first group. But during that time, somebody from Lord Mob, which is a collective from NYC, came up and recorded an album in Cape Cod where I was.
Oh shit.
This was during the winter where, you know, that's a very touristy area. So not much is happening there at all during the winter.
Okay.
So somebody tapped me off that there's a hip hop artist here, G4 Jag, making an album. And I was like, there's a hip hop artist out here making an album.
Right.
That's
Yep.
crazy. So he was actually the first person that I interviewed for essentially this podcast, what it evolved into. So big salute to him and Lord Mob. But after that, it really opened my eyes to a lot of underground artists. And it's impossible to know everybody or see everything that comes out, but there is so much music out there. It's just about finding it and getting tapped in.
Right.
Let's continue more about COVID. So also during this time, I watched a lot of DJ live streaming. Some of the people I watched the most was DJ Tiger, DJ Jazzy Jeff, and Scratch Bastard. And they really inspired me to want to step up my game. I got 2 techniques. I really started pushing heavy about, trying to get better in the craft of DJing. So that was a lot of fun. I even started live streaming and doing some stuff myself. But let's talk about you and DJing.
Oh, yeah.
What are some of your early DJ experiences?
Man,
did you always want to be a DJ to start? How did it initially start for you?
Initially, so like on my hip hop journey, I started rapping, but the DJing and the production stuff was always like right there as well. I had friends that were doing everything. I think, at that time, motherfuckers were trying to be like on some hip hop triathlon shit. Like, yo, I'm so fucking hip hop. I can do all this shit. That was really the mindset back then. And man, like as early as the rapping stuff started, like vinyl was around. You need instrumentals to freestyle on. Turntables are around. You gotta have something to play the records. And then eventually you kind of get to that point to where you're like, yo, there's this tiny little piece in this song where I can loop it and extend it out and make it an instrumental. And you might get a sampler. Some people were doing pause tapes, but they were always hand in hand. At that time, I don't think it was as separate. You just did everything. You went for it. So early DJ memories, damn. My first like real like experience as far as DJing like in a somewhat public setting was college radio back in like 2001, 2002. I had a friend who was doing the radio show. At this time I was living in New Mexico, and the friend who was doing the radio show knew some of my friends back in DC. And they had told him like, yo, you know about this dude? He's out there, da da da. He's down. You should check him out. So we wound up linking, and he had told me like, he was just like, yo, like, you have dope vinyl, you can DJ. Why don't you come up and help me with the radio show? So I was a little reluctant at first, but I got up there, had a blast, and I continued rocking on that show for at least like a few years. And shortly after that, like I came up here to Colorado, and I was always practicing building. And those, I would say like one of the earliest memories though is that radio show. I mean, I go back before that, like, in the practice days, in the bedroom days, I had friends that were training for DMC very seriously, and we were, me being around them so often, I was cutting a lot with them, watching what they were doing, studying actual records. That was like a big piece in me building up to become the DJ that I am today, and absolutely gave me my kind of like my foundational blocks to go on and start doing radio in the early 2000s. A lot of that came from the fact that the collection was already heavy. Like I knew about a lot of records that cats that were very experienced weren't really up on, and that was just real time, like dedicated time in the field, like digging and finding shit and really trying to learn in the 90s there wasn't internet. The mid 90s there was no internet, so you had to actually like physically dig to learn the history, and that's different. You can't Google that shit, like you have to actually get out there and find shit and read covers and learn about like producer credits and who did what. And I mean, it's real research work, so those are also very early memories of DJing. But yeah, I would say like the first experiences of actually doing something semi-public or something that was heard by people outside of like my general circumference or my friend circle was doing college radio. Absolutely. Yep.
What is a DJ nowadays? What's your definition of a DJ?
The definition never changed for me. It's always been a skilled selector, somebody that understands digging, somebody that understands the history of what they're playing, and somebody that is incredibly tasteful in their selection and in the way that they're actually playing stuff. Not just what you're playing, but also how you're playing it. Yeah, and you have different styles of DJs, but I think in the true spirit of it, those are like core tenets. Yeah. Today, you have cats that are on controllers that don't know anything about vinyl. I guess, I have respect for anybody that does what they do in a skillful way. I think sometimes the modern software and the controllers can limit somebody's real DJ skill. Like if you're mixing on a laptop, right, and even if you have turntables, you have a screen that's showing the grids of the music, and you can literally line up snares if you just get your BPM straight and look at the file and say and the way that it's flowing in Serato, and you can say, all right, like this looks like it's about on. But people that grew like that started DJing with that methodology, a lot of times if you put them on two turntables with just vinyl and no computer screen, put these two records together, blend them clean for me, they're all over the place, and so I'm absolutely aware of the fact that there are some people that are taking shortcuts, some people that may be getting praise based off of pretty mediocre skill set, and there's a lot of cats that just have a look or play a particular like corny style of music that people gravitate towards. That to me, no, that's not true DJing. I understand that there's a space for it today, but I don't know if I look at those DJs as being as credible as somebody that actually is genuinely skilled.
And they probably won't have the longevity either.
Most likely not. I mean, at some point you're gonna have to actually pay dues and get truly dope, now that's not to say that you can't be a controller DJ and be dope. I definitely don't want to I don't want anybody to misunderstand what I'm communicating here, but I have seen controller DJs that are able to tear shit up, and they don't own turntables, they don't own records, but they've put in work into being especially skillful. And I think that's where you're going to see the distinction, and I'm always looking for that. So respect to all the DJs, though, new DJs, old DJs. I mean, there's probably something that you can learn from almost everybody. Sometimes it may be what not to do, but if you're paying attention, there's something to be taken from watching almost any DJ. And for me, I definitely want to be one that comes out when you see me rock. It's like, yo, he has like all of that shit. He can cut, he can blend, he's doing the trick mixing, but also like the music selection is particularly tasteful.
Great selection and rocking the party, man.
Yeah,
I always have a great time when I come down and see you DJ. How would you describe your style?
Versatile, but also very rooted in like fundamentals. You know, I think if you stick to the fundamentals on some DJ shit and you get really good at those, you'll always be solid. But I think my style is definitely, would say it's like aggressive, East Coast, tasteful, like turntablist, but also very like sound driven in a sense that you know what you're doing has to be technical but also sound good. You know, it has to be pleasing to the listener. I think there are a lot of DJs out there that can triple click flare and can juggle their asses off, but when you hear them play songs and just like rock parties, it's like it's not really that dope. You know, it's okay, but it's not some shit that was like, yo, I was mad hype when I heard that. And then there's certain DJs that are not like they're not really about the crazy intricate scratches or the really involved juggle patterns. But their knowledge base and their understanding of what to do in the moment is like top notch. And you know, I think that there's absolutely value in that. You know, it doesn't always have to be hyper technical. I like technical in my in what I do, but I also respect that sometimes you can just go on there and just have, you know, the best joints planned out and they transition perfect, and you don't need to do a lot of scratching or like crazy like beat doubling or matching to make it sound dope. It flows well. So yeah, I'd like to say that my style is kind of somewhere in between the technical and the soulful, you know. Definitely I can lean towards either side depending on what the crowd is what I feel the crowd needs. But you're probably always gonna get like cuts and like, you know, actual work. When DJs up there actually working, not just like play a song, let it rock for a couple verses, blend it, echo it out. Play the next song, let it rock for a couple verses, blend it, echo it out. Nah, like you're gonna get like real work. Yep.
Who are some of your favorite DJs to watch?
Oh man. Shit. I feel like I keep us here all day if I'm really to run down the list. I'll tell you some people that I was really inspired by. But I guess like one of my favorite DJs to watch is fucking 45 King. You know, that oh man, that dude is so dope on the turntables, man. And like rest in peace, King.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. You know, that was somebody who, when I met him, I already had been DJing for a long time. And you know, I was pretty good at cutting, you know, pretty good at like, you know, at the fundamental stuff. And you know, King used to tell me like, yo, your scratching is dope. Like I like the way you put shit together. But I remember watching him, being at that level and watching him and just thinking like, yo, like I have so much to learn still, you know? And you have a lot of DJs out there that are like, you know, still kind of white belt level, still in its beginning. You know, you got a lot of like your like blue belts, your intermediates, you know, your blues and your purple belts. Then you got like your brown belts that are pretty dope, right? And then you got like your black belts where you're like, okay, yo, that's a master, you know, like that's somebody that has like everything down. And then you have black belts that are like, yo, I've been a black belt for like 20 years. You know what I'm saying?
6-degree black belt.
You know, and it's funny, you know, you can be a black belt and go and like spar with, you know, one of those 20-year black belts and you're like, oh shit, like I don't know anything, you know, and you could smash all the, you know, like, you know, you're absolutely a formidable opponent, but you roll with somebody that just has that much experience and that much understanding of the mechanics of everything. And it's like, fuck, it's back to school. So watching King, yeah. So watching King was like that for me. So I really love seeing King DJ. I think I like watching Qbert cut. I think he's really ill. I mean, you know, probably the best at it. There's some D Styles is really fucking dope too. Like I like watching like his turntable orchestra shit. Like he has a couple of groups that he does. Like it'd be like a 4-man group, 5-man group, basically using like the turntables like a band. You know, I love seeing that type of shit. I like I really like I like to hear something that I haven't heard before. You know, if I'm hearing a DJ that's just like a party rocking style DJ, I like to hear something I haven't heard before or something freaked in a way that's clever. But I also I hate like seeing DJs that are just kind of going with the online trends. You know, like a particular like trick, like strobing is like it's a technique that when you're using doubles, you're strobing between the two beats, and it has a pretty dope sound, but everybody fucking does it, you know, and it's like a go-to trick, and it's just like, all right, you know, sometimes you watch a DJ video and you're like, yo, I know exactly what's gonna come next. It's gonna be this, then he's gonna start scratching, and then he's gonna go from the scratch back into the like. I don't like that. I feel like more than anything, I'd like to see cats that are really coming with something that's their own. Yeah, I enjoy seeing that. So, you know, you could be somebody who's a no name and still be dope or skillful in that way, and I give praise. You know, I give props where always give credit where it's due. You know, but yeah. So 45 King Qbert, Rock Raider was really dope to watch. Let me see who else is really fun to watch. Damn.
One of the first DJs that I saw that really like opened my eyes and be like, what is he doing? What is that mixer? What are all these buttons? Was DJ Wonder from Sway in the Morning.
Oh, word.
He would always live stream like a half-hour set every day.
Gotcha.
Really good with mashup and blends, and
Yep.
that was probably the first DJ that opened my eyes to really the art of DJing and what you can do. And I was like, damn.
Yeah. I remember just completely getting like my perception of like what was possible through DJing destroyed in like 96, 97 when the Invisible Scratch Pickles battled the X-Men. And I talked about this on like other interviews too, but that was like a serious turning point for turntablism. I think what you saw the what you saw the X-Men do in the individual battles, I thought was brilliant. Like the disses and the showmanship in those routines was superb. Oh man, it was so dope. But then the team routine, what ISP did was just like it. I think it set the standard for what team routines would become for like the next decade. And those were really important times. I mean, like there was so much evolution happening as far as like the actual like technical skill side of DJing. And I was right there like watching all of it, just, you know, as a fan and an aspiring turntablist, you know. But that was an incredible time. And I think right now we're starting to see maybe like another stage of like evolution in it. The scratching has come so far. The juggling has come incredibly far. Some of the cats that are doing stuff on like Serato, they're maximizing like the features of Serato out. Sometimes it sounds dope, you know, not always, but there's a lot of stuff that I'm seeing now that's like, wow, this is really ill. People are pushing forward, you know. So yeah, this is DJing is something to me that's like it's ever evolving, and if you're tapped in and really paying attention, you'll see that like people are taking baby steps in towards like advancement every day, you know. And yeah, that's a really a critical piece to it, because if people lose that, it's gonna die out. It'll get corny. It's kind of one of those things where, if you really treasure it, and you cultivate the skill, it'll go far. But if you just kind of use it as something that's like a means to gain like social standing, or to just have a little bit of fun, it's not gonna have the same type of longevity. Yeah.
You brought him up. Let's talk about him a little bit more. 45 King.
Yes.
Absolute legend.
Yes.
In hip hop, man.
Rest in peace, Pops.
People may not understand, but that's why we have this platform here to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. Man, 45 King was a huge figure in my life, a major piece of what I'm doing right now. He gave me my start pressing vinyl back in 2017. But more than that, he was definitely a good friend and somebody that became like a father figure to me. Probably one of the most supreme b-boys that has ever walked the face of the earth. And also one of the best and kindest human beings. That man was a legend, and he meant the world to me.
For people who are unaware, he produced for many people, has done many remixes. Some of his most notable production is Stan by Eminem, Hard Knock Life by Jay-Z, and he also, I believe it was called 900 Number, the original sort of sample flip that became Let Me Clear My Throat. Those are some iconic songs and moments in hip-hop.
Yep.
So he's also produced for Queen Latifah, Craig Mack, Big Daddy Kane, MC Lyte, Diamond D, Rakim. Like I mentioned, tons of remixes. So amazing producer in his own right there.
Yeah.
Amazing DJ.
Yep.
Many times before. I heard his name many times in hip-hop documentaries when I was doing research. And I put it on again this morning to give myself a little refresher. But he did a Boiler Room set about 10 years ago that was mind-blowing to me at the time when I first listened to it, and it really helped put me onto some real hip-hop shit, if you will.
Yeah. And what's crazy is, like, there's different understandings or, like, different definitions, I think, based on the generation that you came up in, of what real hip-hop is, right? So that's somebody that I met, and I knew a lot about hip hop. I mean, like, I'd been doing that shit for decades, before I had met him. And I remember talking with him about certain things, and again, it was just like, damn, I still have so much to learn.
That's what it feels like when I talk to you, by the way.
Oh shit!
You're always putting me on and dropping knowledge. So
yeah, I mean, you got it. I mean, I think the whole point of this is to really to spread the word. Dope hip hop should be something that's enjoyed by all, and I think there's definitely a time period of, like, gatekeeping in hip hop, like covering the labels on records and not showing motherfuckers what you're playing and all of that shit. And salute to that shit too, because it was a war to have the dopest shit. Before it was internet and you could just go buy shit on the internet, like, no, you had to actually find the dopest shit and know about what it was. So with that being said, we're in a new age right now, and I feel like having more people aware of it is better. I definitely want to spread the word. Some of these artists that I'm working with, I feel like there's some of the most talented people in hip hop right now, and maybe everybody doesn't know about them, but if you do get a chance to listen to them or hear their projects, you're gonna be like, yo, this is fire. I'm thank you for putting me on. So I'm all about that, man. Like, I love to spread the wealth and kind of bless people with something that they may find useful in their life. And something that enhances their experience, in this hip hop shit overall. So
let's talk more about your relationship with 45 King, sort of how it started, building it, and then take me into, like, vinyl production, man. All right. It's come back in a big way as of recently, over the last 10 years, but from who you learned it from, it's like from more of the essence, the core.
Yeah, I
would
mean,
say.
yeah, I couldn't have come from better soil in this hip hop shit, King, so I met him back in 2015. I was buying records from him. And just in the course of communicating about the orders and stuff, we wind up talking. And, he had a really interesting way about himself. He was particularly friendly, but he could be a little unusual, a little quirky. I remember like the first order I had made with him. He emails me and then like he follows up with like a voice recording, and he's just like, "Yo, this shit is too much to type out. I just wanted to know, do you want me to sign your records?" And I sent him a voice message back. And, I wind up doing more orders with him, talking with him, getting real cool with him. And, this is like 2015 when we met. So by 2016, we're like FaceTiming, like every day we got real cool, like real friendly, man. That's just like a very welcoming person, 45 King, and, fun to be around too, so it was real easy for us to just kind of to really get cool like that. So 2016, we're FaceTiming instead of calling. So he's seeing me cut, I'm seeing him make beats. And it was crazy because he was playing beats that were unreleased, just stuff from his vaults. And I would always be like, "Yo, what is that? Yo, that's so dope. Are you gonna put that on record? Like, do you want to, what are you doing with it?" And King at that time, he was at a place where he was just sort of it's like, "Yo, like I've done it all." You know what I mean? Like my catalog is already over 100 records. Like I've produced for everybody from Madonna to New Kids on the Block to Lisa Stansfield to Queen Latifah. His catalog is insane, and it's more than just like the Jay-Z and Eminem and Queen Latifah shit. Like if you really dig in there, he remixed Fame for David Bowie. Like that's crazy. Are you serious? Like, yo, that's like the rap
Remix
producers
list alone. Is,
and like it was a legit remix. Like it was authorized. Like the label paid him to do that shit. Like that's for real. So, there were very few hip hop producers at that time that were doing that, the stuff of that caliber. So, he has, he has a particular like depth of experience that's just, it's unsurpassed. There are very few producers in hip hop that can say that they have a catalog that rivals 45 King. There are maybe a couple, but not many. And so, 2016, he's like, "Yo, I've been there, done that." You know what I'm saying? What do I need to press another record for? So, I think he just, he kept playing stuff. I just kept being like, "Yo, man, this is crazy. Like, this is dope. What are you doing with it?" And, I know like around late 2016, I had asked him like, "Yo, do you want to press a vinyl?" And, probably like 3-4 times I already asked him, and it wasn't something that he was opposed to. He just wasn't really interested in it at the time, and he had right before that he had pressed 545s. They were MASH, Oprah, 3, No Kidding, and Red Alert. So 2015, 2016, he was still, he still had that stuff to get rid of as well. And so around January of 2017, my pops got sick, and he had gone into the hospital on a Monday, and I remember getting a call from his brother on like Tuesday or Wednesday of that week, and he was like, "Yo, I'm not sure like how much longer he has, so you need to come up here." And me and King were already like daily, like talking daily at that point, FaceTiming, and we were real cool, real cool. And I remember being at the hospital, and my pops passed, and I came out of the room and I hit 45 on the FaceTime, and I remember like You know, I wasn't crying or anything. I definitely, you know, I was hurt, but it wasn't like I was distraught. You know, I knew things were gonna be okay. You know, and this is just kind of like part of the cycle of life. You know, and so I hit 45 on the FaceTime, and like as soon as he knew me, you know, but as soon as he saw my face, he was like, "Your pops passed, didn't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, didn't he?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was just like, "Oh man, you know, I'm really sorry to hear that." And in the conversation, I was just like, "Yo, man, so you really don't want to press a record, man? Like, you sure you don't want to press a record?" And he was just like, "Yo, your pops just passed away and you're still asking me about pressing this record. You must really want to do this shit. You know, you must really want to do this shit." So he was like, "Cool, let's do it," you know. So that was that was January 2017. We had really pressed that first record, unofficially called "You Ain't Got This." It's 545 King Beats. He selected two of them. I selected two of them, and then there was one beat that one of his DJ friends wanted, so he made an edit for that project for his DJ friends. So, so we did that record. January 2017, we submitted it. We had Large Professor's 45th birthday party, March of 2017, and I was kind of like, "Yo, like." It would be perfect to have these vinyls for that birthday party. And so so we got the test presses like the week before the birthday party, and the footage that you see on YouTube of 45 King DJing at Large Professor's birthday party at Bowery Ballroom in New York City, or I'm sorry, Bowery Electric in New York City. The vinyl that he's playing are those test presses of our first record. So if you watch the video, you see I'm right there in the background. I was his record boy. 45 King was a record boy for DJ Breakout from the Funky 4+1, and I was 45 King record boy. You know, so it's crazy. Like if you see that DJ set, I don't know if he did this in the Boiler Room set, but if you watch that DJ set, like he's playing the 45s and then he just tosses them. Like you don't see him like put him away carefully. Like he tosses them. He has like a hamper in front of the turntables and he's just tossing them. $300 45s, $500 45s. Boom. He rocks. He cuts doubles of it. Fucks that shit up. Boom. Throws it in the fucking hamper. On to the next one. And like you just see him tossing the shit. It's the craziest it's the craziest thing to see. And yeah, that was the first time I met Large Professor, and that was really my introduction to like true New York DJ party culture. Yeah, that party right there. Yep.
That sounds like a fun
time,
a good one to be at.
Yo, let me tell you, bro. Like, there were so many fucking legends in that building that night. Yo, I met the Beatnuts that night. Marley Marl was in there that night. Jazzy J, original Jazzy J, you know, he was in there. Royal Flush, Mike Geronimo, Cheeks from the Lost Boys. Like, it was crazy. It was like just being around, you know, any way you turn, you're around hip hop like royalty.
Capsule, like being back in the 90s, right?
Yeah, around all of your fucking idols, man. That shit was crazy. All in one room. And you know, Bowery Electric is like it's a pretty small room. It's a little bigger than Meadowlark's main room, but I mean, it's still like, you know, when a party like that, it's like shoulder room. You know what I'm saying? Like people are jammed up in there, and everywhere you looked, it was like, yo, that's a legend. That's a legend. That's a legend. It was crazy. I'd never been around no shit like that in my life, and all of them were like, yo, King, like you're the fucking man. Mm-hmm. You know, that was a hell of a night, man.
If people can still purchase 45 King merch, records, anything like that, what's the status?
So all right, here's the deal. Right now, the family is kind of ironing out the estate. But 45 King Records will continue, and you'll see me at the forefront of that push with the family. Right now, there's kind of like 45 King did a lot of record deals, so there's a lot of paperwork to resolve when you're getting an estate settled. But that's all in the process right now, and when that's completed, we will continue to push for 45 King Records. So right now, if you want 45 King stuff, there is a website, 45kingstuff.com. However, if you place an order on it, you're going to get your money refunded. We kept that site live and active just, in his memory. But when the push for the new 45 King Records stuff begins, you'll see a new website. You can hit me up on the DM. I may have a couple of dead stock titles just from my personal stash, because as we were kicking it, I was buying mad shit. Like, I always thought his stuff was valuable when everybody and I mean, there were a lot of people that knew his stuff was valuable, but there was a time where many people were sleeping on his merch, and you could have bought it directly from him and got it signed, and he was the coolest motherfucker. He would have hit you with a
conversation with him.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you would have, you want me to make something out to your kid? Like, he would do shit like that, and so the fact that so many people missed out on that is just, it's crazy to me, and I think as time goes on, you're going to have more people saying 45 King was a legend, and he absolutely was, but I don't know if all of those people were singing his praises when he was alive. But that being said, I knew the time, so I was stockpiling shit. I would buy shit from him. He'd be like, yo, you're buying an 8th box set? I'm like, yup, can you sign this one for me? You know what I'm saying? I knew. I just knew. There's times where you hear certain talent, and it's just so evident that this is especially unique. And he was absolutely one of those ones. He was definitely one of those ones. Yep.
Rest in peace once again. Anything else you want to mention about 45 King before we start making some pizza? Because we're going to do the full conversation with TMac Experience today.
Okay, right. Yeah,
we're going to get to this making some pizza real soon.
I've been looking forward to this.
Anything else, we want the listeners to know about 45?
About 45 King. I'll give you a couple of gems that he taught me directly. There's so much stuff that I learned from him. Some of them were things that he communicated to me directly. Some of them were things that I observed just from watching and being around him. But here's a couple of things that he gave to me directly. The first one is that there's no rules to art, right? So what you think is dope, and if somebody else doesn't think it's dope, they're right as well. It's subjective. So it's to me, I think that was really it was vindicating, because you should make your art the way you want to make it, be yourself, and do what you want to do. And I think eventually you'll find your tribe, but he was always, a big advocate of people just being themselves, so there's no rules to art. What one person likes, another person might not, and they're both right. The other thing is treat everybody like you would want them to treat your mother. And that's a direct, anybody that knows 45 King knows that's a direct 45 King quote. Treat people the same way you would want them to treat your mother. I think that absolutely speaks to his character, the type of person that he was, his kindness, but also his consideration and his understanding that people are also going through shit. You might see somebody and they may look like they're doing good, but you don't really know. So be cool to everybody. Yep. Yeah, those are two.
Take those in, people. Take those in.
Jewels.
Gems, baby.
From the King.
All right. I'm getting a little hungry. I don't know how you're feeling.
Man, I entered this interview hungry, so all right, I'm ready.
Well, you know what time it is then. Let's make our way into the kitchen and make some food, y'all. So this first one, we're gonna do sort of like the classic cheese, New York style cheese pizza with some basil, maybe even make it a margarita. All right, so something simple, but classic right here.
I'm excited for this one too.
Bro, that's gonna be some fire. I've been sitting on that for years. I mean, since it dropped, you know. That's serious right there. No,
That's a crunch.
this is really good. Really good, T.
Classic margarita. You guys know how we do it. All right.
You spent your whole life listening to hip hop. You spent your whole life eating food. You know what tastes good to you. You know what sounds good to you. And you also know what's whack. Yep, this is official. Yo, this crust, crazy buttery, light, but hearty. This is fire. The spice is actually like the pepper from the spicy salami. That's actually carrying it. Like that's bringing it home. I think that's melding everything right there. Like that's making it one unison piece. That's like, oh shit, this is a work of art.
Yeah, man.
And I'm actually coming back for that too. No, don't throw that. I'm coming back. I'm coming back for that.
All right, y'all, we back. We back here to finish up the hip hop conversation, but it really never stopped.
No, it did
We
not.
were just making some pizza, some good stuff. But this one right here is the Thick Cr8s pizza. The Thick Cr8s TMac creation. Mostly him, but you know, I had to have the hands to put it together.
Absolutely.
So what do we got here, man? This is more like a veggie style.
This is like you know, I don't have a particular name for this. I think, you know what, we just threw a whole garden on here, man. You know, we got the tomatoes, we got the pesto sauce, got the fresh mozzarella, the red onions, we got the arugula, and of course, you got around something like that out with some garlic. You know,
some of that roasted garlic.
Roasted garlic, yeah. I see you rubbing that shit on the crust too.
And you can't forget that extra virgin olive oil. That
the
good
EVO.
olive oil.
Oh yeah, you gotta have that.
This ain't just no Kroger brand olive oil here, okay? This is high level stuff. So we're gonna munch on this as we finish up the conversation here.
This looks superb.
But before we get back into it, I think we need a little something in our cups.
All right, let's do that. Okay.
And you brought something very special over here for us today. So please break this down. Like, let's know what we're about to sip on.
So check it out. We got a bottle of the Holy Ghost. This is a natural rosé. This came out back in 2019 when DJ Muggs from Cypress Hill had released the Holy Ghost vinyl. That was a real low run album. I think he did like 100 of them on 45, and then there may have been like 20 on LP. So the 45 came with this bottle. It was like $100, bro, back in like 2019, that's a lot for a 45. But
yeah,
it came with this bottle. So here we have a bottle of all natural rosé, and this was grown in Germany, hand harvested. Indigenous yeast fermentation, no fining, no filtering. This is natural wine right here. You know what I'm saying? So
all natch.
Yep. So this is probably gonna be real fire. I've been saving this for like about 6 years now. You know, spinning the stash.
It's an honor that you wanted to bring that here today.
And I'm honored to be here. And I think anytime we do something like this, we got to make it a little bit better than the standard.
It's a special occasion.
Absolutely. It always is. Thick Cr8s.
Thick Cr8s brought the bottle. We got the pizza. Let's get into it, man. So as you're opening the bottle, let's let's talk about your label a little bit. Ooh,
It's blowing up.
Live, you know, you can't.
Holy shit. All right.
explosive West Coast shit. So when I was interviewing Gloomy Sunday, he brought me a bottle of champagne. I opened it and it exploded all over the kitchen, all over me. All right.
Well, here we are. Yo. Crazy. That shit is crazy.
Now we're ready for the second part of the conversation with this.
We're blowing up.
We're blowing
You know what I'm saying?
up. Explosive West Coast shit, like we said. All right, let's get into the record label. Thick Cr8s, bona fide crate dealer.
Yeah.
What is it like to? First of all, what is it like owning a record label? And then we're here in 2025. You know, you're not just a record label owner putting out digital releases.
Right.
There's a lot that goes into this stuff. It's a lot more work than just getting something on Spotify.
Absolutely.
So what is it like in 2025 being a record label owner producing real physical projects?
Yo, it's a lot of fun. It feels like a continuation of just hip hop from yesteryear. In all honesty, I don't think what I do is really different from what Fondlem Records was doing in the 90s. Essentially, my mission here with this whole thing is to just bring quality, you know, and that's paramount to everything else. So more than anything, when I'm taking a project on, I'm really looking at like, yo, how does this record make me feel? You know, do I feel like this record will age well? How are the beats? How are the lyrics? Is it some type of shit where you'll enjoy it for 3 listens and then you're pretty much done? You don't need to go back to it, or is it something that you'll always want to go back to? I tend to lean more towards the things that you'll always want to go back to. I absolutely want to be doing records that are making a true impact in the culture, and records that you'll look back on and say, yo, this one was fire. So right now, you know, in today's market, you know, everything is digital. And I think that in a way is kind of is what's making us have a leg up on the competition. We're focused heavily on physical. You can't even go out and stream this shit on, you know, on YouTube or iTunes or Apple Music, any of that. Like, you have to get it from us. And if you're really into hip hop and you're truly a hip hop connoisseur, this music should speak to you. And I feel like us kind of staying away from that whole digital market and making this a thing where the only way you're going to be able to witness and listen to all of this brilliance is if you buy a physical copy. I feel like that's something that's keeping us separated from this entire mess of labels that are, you know, worried about streaming and this and that. I wanted to get back to the hip hop more than anything. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here. So my placement in this modern world of record labels and music distribution, it's different, and I like that. I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah.
The people that are tapped in, obviously they're tapped in already. They're buying this stuff. Do you think with the evolution, consumers or listeners need to be almost retrained to like buy physical stuff? Do you not even worry about that? You're just doing it for the people who want it and know about it. But do we need to almost try to shift the culture back to appreciating more about the music instead of just Spotify, 2 clicks away, here it is.
Right. I'm
half listening to it, don't really care about it.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on that?
So I absolutely am a champion of the physical product. You know, I grew up cutting vinyl, like actually physically cutting vinyl. I feel like that plays a big part in what I'm doing today, that upbringing and that background. And to see kind of this whole market change from where you know, physical was really important to where essentially it bottomed out for a while and it became all digital. I think that we've gone down that path where everything is just digital, And it wound up circling back to people still wanting physical product. And you see, like with the Griselda, with the guys from Griselda, you know, those records were coming out 2015, 16, 17. Some of those records are like $3,000 now. And that was at a time where the kind of like traditional hip hop that we love was taking a backseat to a lot of mainstream stuff. So you see this whole revitalization of hip hop, of underground hip hop specifically, through that vinyl movement, through those a lot of those early Griselda releases. And so when you take that into consideration, at a time where hip hop had been like just beaten down by the press and you know, critics, and then all of a sudden there's this resurgence, and it's led up to what we're seeing right now, which is where, like, you know, a lot of the cats from Griselda and a lot of the people in the underground wave are making real moves now. They're not even underground anymore. You know, it's almost like semi-mainstream, certain ones. So that says a lot about the power of physical product. Now, as far as training consumers, like, should we try to get them back to, what you buy is what you buy. What you're into is what you're into. But if you're into hip hop shit, and specifically like connoisseur tier, expert level hip hop shit, you'll fuck with our shit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Come find us. Come find Thick Cr8s, find Jazzsoon, find Camoflage Monk, find Bonafide crate dealers, and you'll get that fixed. You'll find what you're looking for. Yep.
What are some challenges when producing vinyl? I've ordered many vinyl. Some are pre-orders, some are ready to ship right away.
Right.
There's a lot of like different nuances to the vinyl game and producing and getting it done.
Yep.
What are some challenges when getting it done? I think, you know, just from hearing and doing a little bit of research, there's limited manufacturers who do vinyl.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's taken off tremendously, so they have a backlog of work that they're trying to produce and get through.
Right.
Talk to me about some of these challenges that you experience when trying to produce vinyl nowadays.
So, there's a few different ways to attack that question. So the first thing, you know, you really want your vinyl to sound good more than anything else. Like, that's really important. I mean, if you buy a record from me, and let's say you're a fan of Alchemist stuff, right? And you're listening to Alchemist stuff regularly on your home setup, you take off that Alchemist record and then you put my record on. I want my record, I don't want you to have to adjust volume or do any funny shit to make it sound equal to what to the Alchemist record you just took off. I want it to play just as loud and be competitive, you know? So that's a major part, is making sure the records sound good. Not only do you have to do mastering in-house, but you also have to do mastering specifically for vinyl. So a lot of you rappers think like, yo, I can just send him the master of what I did in-house and that's good enough for pressing a record. You're like completely wrong. There's a whole different mastering process that has to occur to get those files ready for vinyl. The other thing that you have is artwork, you know. That's a really big piece of it, especially in today's market. You know, people want, if they're spending $50, $60, $70 on a record, they want something that they really feel like, that they can feel like they got their money's worth with, you know? So artwork is a big piece of it, and I gotta give a huge shout out to my boy Disco Von Doom. That's the dude that handles a lot of the artwork for my projects in-house. I do have other artists that I work with as well, but Disco Von Doom is like the in-house dude. He handles the vast majority of the artwork.
What are some of those covers that he did, just for example?
Okay. Yeah, so he did, one of his masterpieces is the Capital Gains Black Market Edition, which is the glow-in-the-dark cover, the glow-in-the-dark obies, and the glow-in-the-dark vinyl. He did that one entirely. We worked together. I kind of gave him the concept, but as far as actually executing my vision, that was him, you know? And we work step by step in the process together, but at the end of the day, it's him doing the magic in the software that produces the art. So yeah, so he did the Capital Gains Black Market Edition. He did the layout for the Capital Gains initial cover, the Al Wonder artwork. He did the layout for that one. He did Jazzsoon Late Show. He did Jazzsoon Remixes, Heavy Archives Remix Edition. He did Jazzsoon Heavy Archives 11. He did Jazzsoon Stigwood, 10 Stigwood Avenue. He helped with man, so many projects. It's crazy. Disco Von Doom deserves mad props, mad credit. Salute to you, bro.
Yeah, salute.
So basically, getting a lot of times, man, you might deal with a struggle in terms of bringing the artist's vision to life, you know. And I mean the person, like the producer or the rapper. A lot of times they'll tell you like, yo, I want the record to look this way. I want it to be an art piece, but I want the layout to be like this, and it's got to look a certain way. And you have to work, or if you care, you know, and I absolutely, I care probably too much, but you have to work extremely closely with your graphics designer and your manufacturer to make sure that the physical product actually matches what the artist had envisioned. So sometimes bringing that to life, depending on what resources you have or what companies you're using to press with, it can be challenging, you know? I have a record that I'm working on right now with Mr.Len from Company Flow, one of my fucking idols, you know, and he has a really specific vision for how he wants this project to look and even for the covers to feel, you know. So we've been working on this record for a long time now, and it's going to take a little while longer because getting it manufactured in a way where it matches what he envisioned, it's of the utmost importance to me. And I'm going to make sure that when that physical product is in his hand, he's like, yo, this is just as good, if not better, than what I had imagined. So you'll deal with a lot just in a sense of trying to make shit quality, you know, trying to make it dope, like better than your competitors. You'll deal with a lot in that regard as well. But ultimately, the physical product in hand and you know, it looking a certain way and just being everything that you expected and more, it's a huge payoff. And I love to see that. So I feel like with the projects that have come out on Thick Cr8s specifically, we're all wins right now. Like there are no duds as far as like the artwork, the music's always going to be on point. You never have to worry about that with some Thick Cr8s shit. But you know, certain ones have been challenging. That glow in the dark one, man, I could tell you stories about shit that we went through trying to get that right with the manufacturer. That cover delayed the other covers getting shipped to us. They were already pressed, but that third cover was just like they were having so many fucking problems with it. So, you know, I can definitely recount stories of like just dealing with companies that maybe weren't completely understanding what I was trying to accomplish with the artwork, or just that what I was trying to accomplish was particularly difficult and even pushed the limits of what they were capable of. Mm-hmm. But yo, when you go through all of that struggle and strife and you get that final product in your hand and it looks ill, it just washes all the pain away, you know? So yeah,
getting that final product,
man,
it's got to be an amazing feeling, because I mean, you just broke it down a little bit over a few minutes, but I mean, that's months and months and months of work and time and dedication to this to bring it to that point.
Absolutely.
And not just somebody sitting in front of a computer, Photoshop for 4 hours putting together something for Spotify that's only this big on the phone.
Right,
you know what I mean?
exactly. Yo, it's so crazy that you would mention that, because rappers, if you're reaching out to Thick Cr8s to have me like do your record, do not send me your fucking Bandcamp thumbnail for your album cover and think that shit is gonna blow up to a full-size vinyl cover. It doesn't work that way. That shit's gonna look mad pixelated. Don't even do that shit. Just, yo, we'll figure something out. But please do not send me your Bandcamp thumbnail and tell me like, yo, this is gonna be the fucking best album. No, it's not. No, it's not.
There's a different procedure we have to go through to get this
entirely.
quality. Okay,
we're probably gonna have to rebuild that album artwork to make it actually format to LP size, which is cool. I'm happy to help you do that. But don't be stupid.
Don't be stupid. Come on. Where did you learn the ropes in producing vinyl? Was it mostly 45 King?
Well, 45 King, the records that I pressed with him were 45s. So I learned a lot about pressing 45s with him. LPs with artwork is an entirely different game. And I learned those from hands-on experience, man. Just doing the work. And to me, I think that's the hip hop way, you know? There's a couple of records that I did after the records with 45 King, before Bonafide Crate Dealer and Thick Cr8s stuff, that they're really dope. Like the music on them is really dope, but I think the pressing plant that I was using didn't really have an understanding of how to master hip hop. So the records aren't quite as loud as I would like them to be. And I mean, I've had experiences where pressing plants sat on projects that I had submitted to them completely ready, and over the span of a year they had attempted 3 different times to press the vinyl, and every single batch came out warped or something was just off about it. Yeah, for sure, it happens. Yo, when you're really in this shit, like, I'm not talking about like, yo, I pressed 2 records. I'm talking about like when you've really done, like, you got a lot of shit under your catalog, you'll have dealt with and seen quite a bit, and you'll also gain experience and understand how to navigate any of those difficulties in the future. But yo, I've had projects where they attempted for an entire year to press the records, and all 3 attempts throughout the course of that year came back fucked up. And I wound up having to just be like, yo, just refund me my shit. Because what you have to understand, and this kind of speaks to another piece of your question, pre-orders. You have to understand that, like, most labels right now are operating on a kind of like a pre-order setup, right? There's a multitude of reasons. Some of them may be that they just don't have the capital to do it, and they need the people to buy the copies before they can actually manufacture it. Others are like, yo, we don't want to manufacture too much and then be sitting on hundreds of copies, you know? So realistically, you have to kind of, you have to be smart about shit. You know, you have to really know your fan base and try and predict based on the record how well you think it's going to do, right? Don't overshoot, because yo, sitting on like 300 copies of a record that you press 500 of, like, you're barely getting your expense money back, you know? So, and then, you know, you gotta take care of your fucking artists. Labels take care of your artists. Like, that shit is so important. But if you overspend on pressing too many copies and you only sell, like, you know, 20% of what you pressed, how are you going to recoup your expenses and pay your artist, you know? So you have to be very tactful in everything that you're doing, and you have to really calculate shit out. And sometimes you can hit the nail on the head, and other times you might be a little bit off. And you also have to be able to figure out working your way through if you're off a little bit. Yeah, what am I gonna do? Right. To get rid of these? Right. But for like Thick Cr8s as a label, I've been through that shit where the pressing plant fucks your record up 3 different times in the span of a year, and you did pre-orders, you know, 9 months ago. You know what I'm saying? Never again. That was an experience that, like, and yo, anybody that's ordered from me or has dealt with me knows, like, yo, if he's saying it's a delay, it's just a delay. He's going to get it to you. Like, he's 100%. I'm always on point with shit. Nobody that I've ever dealt with will tell you, like, yo, he fucked me over, or, you know, it was bad business. Like, they'll never say that. In fact, it'll be quite the opposite. Most people are like, yo, Cr8s is like the illest motherfucker to deal with. But in going through the hardships in my initial stages of learning manufacturing, I've learned don't do a pre-order. You know what I'm saying? Like capital gains. We pressed and sold like 1,500 copies of that shit. Independent, like out the fucking house. Yo, we ran through we went through some pretty significant delays there because of that third cover, like I had explained. And you know, the people are like, yo, we pre-ordered and paid for this shit 4 months ago, 5 months ago. The manufacturer having issues with manufacturing your art isn't something that's really in your control, you know?
You're sort of expecting that person to come through on what they do.
Exactly.
Without much issue.
Exactly. But a lot of times when you're pushing the boundaries, when you're like, yo, I'm trying to do shit that no other label has done before, and I'm trying to make this record especially unique, you might run into those kind of
Putting
delays.
their capabilities to work.
Absolutely. You put them to the test.
Do.
Yeah.
Pushing them past their initial.
Yes, exactly. And so when you're working that way, my experience is that it's better to not say shit about the record until it's in hand. And I've been on both sides. You know, I've definitely been that guy that was like, yeah, they're going to be ready in August, and something happens at the pressing plant that you have absolutely no say over, but you're still going to have to deal with the fallout, and you're still going to have to make your customers right. And I always do. But now moving forward, I know better. And for quite some time, it's been this way. It's just in hand. You know what I'm saying? Wait till it's in hand. Yeah. So, you know, I've been through all of the ups and downs in that shit. And I think that it all equates to you learning a better way, a better approach, strategizing, reconvening with your team, and moving forward and making the next projects even better and making them move more efficiently in the manufacturing process too. Yeah.
So interesting. I have a funny story based on, you know, just taking a long time to get vinyl. 2014 Forest Hills Drive, J. Cole album. I ordered that on vinyl. I forgot I ordered it on vinyl. Probably like 3 months later, I did it again. And then I have 2 copies of this vinyl, one that I completely forgot I ordered, and then another one comes. So, yeah, it's got to be a challenge now. Is there more manufacturing plants opening now that it is becoming so popular, or is it still just a very small circle?
Yeah, so, like, you know, it's crazy because talking about that record that you know they messed up 3 times over the course of the year, that was during the time where there weren't many pressing plants and where turn times on pressing a vinyl was a year. Some of them were like, I was getting 15-month quotes from someplace. I'm like, who the hell is waiting 15 months to put out that shit? Is crazy. You must be out your fucking mind.
Nobody would want to wait over a year and a half, pretty much, on an album that they just worked so hard on before that to actually give it to the people.
Exactly. And, you know, a lot of times, these artists, before they come to you, like, they've already released the project digitally, you know? And so it's a thing where they've already built their fan base. Is like, yo, where's the physical? But, you know, for me, I've always felt like the best way that you can serve your customers is to give them minimal headache, right? And a lot of that means that you're going to have to eat the expense to press it all up front. You know what I mean? You're going to have to go through the hassle of paying the artist up front for the project and not waiting until you actually do the final sale. Like, get them taken care of, because you want to be able to give yourself as much time as you need and as much of a safety net to make the project as dope in every aspect, artistically, sonically. You know, you want to give yourself plenty of time to do that. And I think for what I've been doing, and like for the projects that I plan on doing moving forward, I'm going to be extremely tactful about making sure that, like, yo, okay, the timing is going to be this, and even if we run into a 2-month delay, we're still going to have a safety net because it's been planned out that precisely. So yeah. Yo, T, what was the question, bro?
I mean, I don't even remember at this point. We're just talking vinyl production and, you know.
I got you. So,
The
no, it's
plants.
pressing plants. Yeah. So yo, there are more options right now, but with more options doesn't always mean higher quality. You know, you got a lot of places now that are catering to artists that don't know shit, you know, about manufacturing. They may have the best music ever, but it's like, hey, for $999, we'll do 100 LPs for you. But you don't know that they're not really giving a fuck about how your record sounds.
The quality,
Yeah,
right? You're talking about how important the quality is in bringing the artist's vision to life.
Right.
It's just a business. They're
Right.
just trying to turn over and make a buck.
Right. And you know, even down to the materials that they're using for your covers, you know, all of that shit is impacted. So if you don't know, all right, stay away from this company. This company is trustworthy. This company has good audio, but sometimes they fuck up on the color vinyl. This company, I mean, like, there are a ton of options right now, and one of the things that I think as a label owner you have to be extremely cognizant of is the fact that they're not all quality. And you have to be able to identify who can do what. And to know that, like, all right, maybe I'm doing kind of like this like janky run of like, you know, it's like 100 and it's a dope record, but it's not something that, like, we're not trying to go triple platinum with this shit. It doesn't need to be fancy artwork. Okay, well, I can go to this place over here. You know, this spot turns vinyl out quickly and it still sounds good. Or if it's a thing where it's like, yo, this has to be top tier, everything has to be the best quality. I know that color vinyl and covers and like in just general presentation, this pressing plant is really good at that, you know. Or if it's something where it's like, yo, I want to experiment, we want to put glow in the dark sand in the middle of the vinyl. Yo, well, I know this place over here where you could, you know. So so to answer your question, yes, there are a lot of places that are doing it. Not all of them are good. As a label owner, really what you have to do is case these places out, work with them, and figure out what's what, you know. And you may have a couple where it's like, damn, like this company kind of didn't do what I was hoping for, you know. But that's just paying your dues, you know, and figuring things out. Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever went to a production plant?
Yo, it's crazy, man. I've never actually been in there in the process. Like, I have some of my plants send me videos while they're making them, but some of the companies that I deal with, their pressing plants are overseas.
That's what I figured.
So,
I think a lot of them are sort of Europe or overseas.
Well, and some of them are domestic. Like I have several places that I work with, but the vast majority of them are going to tell you that like our method for pressing vinyl is proprietary. So, you know, we can't really let you up in here or take like elaborate videos of the manufacturing for
We'll
you.
send you what we want you to see and what you can see.
Exactly. You got it. You got it. I think
tight game. It's a strict game, man.
Yeah. I'm thinking about it now. I think I got this one company that I've been doing a lot of work with. I've done a lot of work with, and I almost feel like they might let me case it out. If I called my rep and was like, yo, I'm in New York, what's up? Like they may, but the craziest thing is like a lot of these companies, it's not just one plant. There's like 4 that they have, and one might be in Canada, and one might be in the United Kingdom, and another right. Or well, not even that one does one part, but like one specializes in a specific style.
Oh, okay.
Or one handles all of the major label accounts where they have to press 10,000 copies. You know, and one might handle just black vinyl, but they're really good at double LPs, you know. Yeah.
A lot of nuance.
So much nuance, bro. And that's why I'm saying, like, you know, a lot of times people, they focus so hard on the music, you know, making the album and making a dope album. And that's always most important, artists. Make your shit as dope as it could possibly be. But once you get there, don't think that like, oh yeah, now pressing the record is easy. It's not really like that. Like you're gonna have a lot of stuff that you're gonna have questions on, and you're probably going to have a lot of stuff that's kind of gray area that you may need help from somebody to navigate. And if I'm a person that, like, I believe in helping people. If I think that your music is dope and you're a credible person, I'll help you out. It might not be a thing where it's like, yo, I'm gonna press your record up on Thick Cr8s, but it may be a situation where it's like, yo, based on what you're doing, I think these pressing plants would be the most effective. Based on the way your music sounds, I think this person would be the best to master your project for vinyl. And based on what you're trying to accomplish, I think that like visual wise, I think that this is probably the best place to manufacture your covers, or whatever it may be. I'm definitely not I'm definitely not gatekeeping. If people need help and I think they're dope and they approach me in the right way, like I'm more than happy to help you out. I get a lot of people that are like, yo, you should press my. No, I shouldn't. Nothing, motherfucker. Like, no, I'll reach out to you if I want to press your music, but definitely don't approach me on some like, yo, I live in Colorado, you live in Colorado, you should press. No, it don't work like that.
Don't do that.
Your shit got to be dope, like for real, like real dope, better than local dope too. Like you got to be touching on something that that is innovative, or at very least adds on to the foundation that we've already laid.
Amen to that. I mean, high quality stuff. That's all we're looking for over here. Taking your time with the art.
Yeah.
And it shows.
Yeah.
It
absolutely.
shows. You could tell who's taking the time and who's not.
Right. And I feel like I'm watching a lot of artists all over the country develop, and they may not be ready right now, but in 3 years they may hit you with a project that's like, yo, this is it. Mm-hmm. And for me, you'll know it when you hear it, like the way that it makes you feel, you'll know it. Yeah. So
there's a few artists out here for me that sort of give me that feeling or remind me of that, what you were just talking about. Anybody local that sort of has your ear or eye a little bit that you want to
So I gotta be
show
honest
some love
with you.
to?
Yo, you know what, man? I have not had the opportunity to fully dive into the local scene yet. Though to give you like an opinion that I feel is truly educated. It's crazy because I feel like in Colorado and in Denver especially, hip hop dudes stay home a lot, For somebody like me, I'm so focused on my mission that it's very seldom that I'm out there trying to scout new talent. Like I know people that I want to press records with, they just wind up on my radar, But I'm not in a situation right now where I'm like desperately looking for new artists to press records with. Like my whole 2025 is booked with really dope artists and very solid projects. Now, that's not to say that at some point I might encounter a Denver artist where I'm like, yo, this is dope and I believe in it and I want to help you out. But I haven't gotten the opportunity to really get heavy into the Denver scene. I've definitely been to some of the open mics. I believe, I think I might have went to like a Freight Heavy, and I think I went to the one that was at the bookstore. I can't remember.
Yeah, that was the Freight Heavy, the Mutiny info.
Okay, yeah. I need to make my way out to Face Defeats joint, Beats Bodega. Actually, yo, I think I could drop a DJ set over there and just kill shit. I think oh man, good Lord. But I wouldn't say that I've really studied the Denver hip hop scene enough to be like, yo, I want to work with this person or that person. But again, like when you hear the project, if somebody came to me and was like, yo, we really like what Thick Cr8s is doing, and I think that this would be a dope project for you to press up. The minute I press play, like within 10 seconds, I'll know. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's about how you feel. And that's not to say like that I'm not paying attention to your I will listen to your project in its entirety front and back a few times before we even have a conversation. But I still feel like there's something that hits you immediately when the music is truly dope. And I believe that at some point, you know, there may be an artist from Denver that, you know, is like, yo, peep this out. And I play that shit. I'm like, yo, this is dope. You know what I'm saying? But my thing is more than anything, it's gotta be extremely dope. And from what I've heard, there's a lot of stuff out here that still needs time. You know, that's not to say that it can't get there or that it's entirely whack, but it may just be a thing where you need a few more years to really develop into a mature artist. You know what I'm saying? Where I feel like, yo, your shit is locked in,
hitting that next level.
Right, exactly. And that's the main thing, because the last thing I wanted to do as a label was just contribute to mediocrity. Like, why are you going to add to the pile of mediocre records, mediocre hip hop records? There's a ton of them out there, fucking ton of them. And I always hated that shit. So I'm very much of the mindset that, like, if it's something I'm going to invest my time and energy into and put my name into, it's going to be something that I believe in, as far as what it will do for hip hop as a whole. Yep.
Yeah, trying to uphold a standard.
Yeah, you got to, man.
Because the there's not necessarily a bar anymore. You can anybody can upload whatever at any time.
Yeah,
and it's available right next to your favorite artist, a legend artist. It can be right there on the same
right
page.
There, yeah, and yeah, there's not as much checks and balances now.
Checks and balances, like filtering almost.
Yo, this fucking wine is crazy. This wine is really good, man. This is really fucking good.
Fuck.
Yo, I'm not mad at this. Damn. I wish I would have copped another one. 2019. I don't think we can find this bottle out there either.
I know. I was gonna say, yo, if you look this up, it's probably just like the record price, man. Those things go up.
It's gonna be through the roof. Yeah, but that's this is
special. This is a special conversations with TMac right here, man. Thick Cr8s, conversation with TMac, pizza, wine, hip hop. This is what it's all about.
Absolutely.
This is what it's all about.
Life.
All right, so we talked a little bit about the Denver music scene, your perspective on it. I really like it and dig that. Let's talk a little bit more Colorado. Let's talk about a little bit more about food, though.
Okay.
Right? We just had pizza.
Yeah.
We did it off camera, I think, but give us some of your favorite pizza spots around here.
Okay, favorite pizza spots. And no offense to anybody. I hope I don't upset anybody here. I know everybody's really particular about their pizza. Okay, so number one, I'm gonna put you guys up on some shit, and I think I see a couple of you motherfuckers following them, but most of you guys don't know about this shit. It's kind of out my way. Pizzeria Louis, Lui. It's a really small spot. I think I feel like it's the best pizza in Denver. Let's see. I've always been a fan of Angelo's. I'm sorry, not Angelo. There's a spot out here that's replicating Angelo's in Philly. The spot is called Little Arthur's. They do a pretty dope pizza. It's a sourdough crust though, so it's not what you're used to, but it's still pretty good. Pizzeria Leopold is fire. Back in the days, man, I used to fuck with Benny Blancos from the Bronx. I don't know. I think it's changed now. That one was all right. It was a good late night slice after work. I used to work down there on East Colfax at Independent Records. So 1 a.m. you're getting out of work. That was like a dope spot.
Everybody tells me that was the late night spot.
Yeah, it was a late night spot. Yeah, that's a good. There is actually, I gotta give props, man. I found out about Blue Pan a few years ago, and they have a location in the Highland that I would go hit up.
That's the original one.
Is that the original one?
Number one.
Okay,
yep.
Okay, I didn't know that. That Detroit pan style with the cheesy crust, man, that shit is fire. Like I just kind of got hip to it in the last few years though. I really like that one. And then Pizzeria Leopold is a new one that's popped up, and they're pretty fire as well. I give them some credit. So I would say Pizzeria Louie, Little Art. Well, Pizzeria Louie, Pizzeria Leopold, then Little Arthur's, and then Blue Pan is definitely fine. Like that Detroit style, man, with that like buttery cheesy crust. That shit is fire.
It's different, man. That was the first time I had Detroit style pizza. Was actually at Blue Pan.
Really?
And
Okay.
I applied there 2 days later. I was like, yeah, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to work.
Yeah, I think I like to see Denver sort of expanding its repertoire as far as food. For a long time, especially coming from the East Coast, it just felt like there's like 3 or 4 styles out here and that's it. But I'm starting to see more open up, and I like it, man. I appreciate it. I think the only thing, stop fucking closing at like 9. Like, can a motherfucker go get some food at like 10:30 or 11?
DJ's got to eat late.
Coming from the East Coast, every time I land in Denver, I'm like, fuck, I can't get no food past 9. Like that shit is so frustrating. But I think like I feel like Denver is definitely, it's making strides and it's trying to improve in that regard. And I welcome it. I love to have good food options just as much as the next man. Yep.
Well, Thick Cr8s, we're wrapping up the conversation here. I appreciate it, man. I'm about ready to get into this pizza. It's been sitting in front of us looking real pretty here for a little while.
Yeah.
But anything else you want to leave the people with here before we wrap up, man?
Absolutely. So I would say this, for the up and coming artists, work extremely hard on making your music as dope as it could possibly be. Focus on quality more than anything else. I think right now you got a lot of people that are worried about scene, popularity, the way things appear on Instagram. Real quality always trumps all of that shit. So focus on that. Be yourself, do the best that you can, and be good to people. Word up. That's what I want to leave everybody with.
I love that, man. That's a great message. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Hopefully you'll come enjoy some pizza with me real soon, and we'll see y'all on the next one.
Peace.
Cheers.